Life is just a moving train going around and around and around. And sometimes people miss their stop because that was their thing to the next thing. Once someone has power and once money isn't introduced, the system is broken. God can't be contained into like a box, which is a form of a...
Pink Sweats is known for music that feels honest, quiet, and deeply human. What most people don't see is the discipline behind that softness, the self-control it takes to stay gentle in a world that rewards noise.
I wouldn't even ever sing again. I wouldn't ever be able to walk. Our armor is also our weakness because...
Welcome to You Versus You. I am super excited to have you here, man. We met at a dinner, and I think automatically our energy, we're drawn to each other as we started talking about life and music and culture, but most of all the mind and what we speak about here on the show, You Versus You. So, Pink, welcome to You Versus You.
Man, thanks for having me, brother.
This is a long time coming. We've been trying to set it up.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the music, big fan of everything you're doing, big fan of the brand. But I want to talk about the man, and I want to just start with your story. Where do we find Pink Sweats at 10 years old growing up? Where we at? Walk me through it.
Oh, man. I'm in Philly. I'm probably in church. I feel like that's all I did around that age, just church.
Was it because your parents were pastors, or you were just really into the church environment?
So my family is like prominent in the church world in Philly. So like my grandfather was like a big time pastor, or I should say bishop. My bad, Pop. We just always at somebody's church. Like my grandfather has a church right here, and like I don't know if you've been in Philly. Well, you have.
Yeah.
You know how small those streets can be. My aunt has a church right across the street. Like you can walk like 15 literal steps, and you're like at a whole nother church. So
in the same block.
Yeah, directly across the street, like directly. Not even you wouldn't even. You'd be like, oh, he really meant directly.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
right there.
Wow.
So yeah, we just everywhere we went, it was a church to go to. So when I was 10, I was just probably behind a drum set. That's what I love to do.
How was it growing up in church? I can relate because I'm a PK, right? Like my mom's a pastor, and so you're talking my language.
Yep.
And I want to talk about this because I was, doing my research and doing my thing and kind of some of the interviews and things you've talked about. And I want to talk about this time and period in church because, I don't think people understand where it was and how strict it was and how, I remember them making me throw away all my CDs, yo. So let's talk about some church.
Throw them away. I didn't even get to get them.
Yo, I got them because I was a troublemaker. But then they caught me, and I had to I went to a youth event, and at the youth event, the pastor was like, "I remember you." As a matter of fact, I remember I had drank so much of the Kool-Aid that I took a girl, and by the way, I don't get me wrong, I love my youth, and I think the structure that church did give me, but there was a lot of things restrictive about it that I don't follow in my life today, but. One of the things was I was so into like the understanding of finding the Holy Spirit that I was like, I started dating this cheerleader from a competing school. She was hot. Man, she was hot. And I invited her to come to church with me. Now that day, it was one of the youth pastor days or whatever. And they got real radical. Like, if you're listening to secular music, you will go to hell. And I was like, oh my God, that's going to be me. So I ran to the car with her. And I remember I grabbed my big pocket of CDs, and they were like, that's right, you, Lex, you got to throw them things away from the devil that's been holding you back. So I grabbed them things, and I go inside the church, and I just crying, throw it in the garbage. And I never forget, she said, hey, my mom's outside to pick me up. I ain't never heard back from this girl ever again. She does follow me on Instagram, so when you see this, I hope you realize that it's okay. I just, it was a different time.
Yeah, that's a time, bro.
But how was that growing up, especially when you have music talent, you playing in the band? Oh, boy.
Bro, it was cool. It was crazy. And for me, I wasn't like a church kid like that. Like I was rebellious in a way. I really never really enjoyed listening to music a lot because I would always like just be singing around the house and banging on stuff. And I think because I was just like, I was the type of rebellious where I want to figure out how to work within the rules to make you upset. Like my dad be like, all right, well, no like secular music. But in the black house, secular music is just R&B,
Yeah.
like and rap, because they don't listen. They don't even know anything else. Like my dad don't know about rock and roll, so I'm just like, all right, cool. I'm gonna just listen to rock and roll, or I'm gonna just listen to pop. Like he's not really his ear. If he's listening from the other room, he doesn't know what this is.
Yeah.
So he's like, all right, cool. He goes back to his business. So I would just dive into things that immediately grab my ear, and then I really wouldn't listen to music that often. I would just make songs. So like a big thing in my house, like with me and my brothers and my sister, like we'll just be singing around the house. Like
I hope you're enjoying this episode of You Versus You. If these conversations are inspiring you and are bringing value to your life, please make sure to subscribe, join the community, and don't forget to share with anyone who you think needs to hear this. Thank you for supporting the show. Now let's get back to our episode.
making a yo, tell me about your day. Yo, like we just have fun, and I feel like at school I definitely really didn't like let people know that I went to church like that. I was trying to be like a follower at that time, and I also was in like a crazy environment where it was like it was just dangerous to be like looked upon as like a church kid, because like people just kind of pick on you, people like jump you for no reason, and like when you're that young, you're just like, bro, like
Yeah, you're trying to survive.
and I'm watching TV at the same time. Like, why they school is not like mine? Like, what is
Yeah.
going on? Something's wrong. But yeah, I spent a lot of time in church, man.
As you grew up in church, challenged church, how do you define your belief system today?
I believe in God, and I feel like I hate to say it that way because it's so broad, and I feel like I do believe in like traditional Christian values. But I think something that I realized for myself is that God can't be contained into like a box, which is a form of a book. It's like that's just the beginning. It's kind of like like a how-to book, but at a certain point you get off the trail. You're like, "Oh, it's no more how-to from here." You got to kind of connect with God yourself. Like you can't just church everything out. And I learned that from observing from a drum set for years and years and years and years and years. I started playing drums when I was like 5 years old, and I would sit on that drum set and I would watch people come in every day, leaving the same, coming in, sometimes getting worse. And I'm like, wow, like I did that for 20 something years, and I never seen somebody that was like an active church goer actually really get better. I never seen it in my life. I've seen people have moments just like anybody else, but I never seen any real transformations. And as a person who observes and who is a songwriter, I understand how easy it is to maneuver people with words. So I don't listen to people a lot. I just observe them because that's something I learned this young. When they tell you, oh, this and this and this is wrong. I'm like, how convenient that everything I like to do is wrong. But I just seen you doing this and that was fine. Well, that's different. God forgives. Well, he doesn't forgive me.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned very young that people can weaponize. And then that created this web of an idea that once someone has power and once money isn't introduced, the system is broken. Like whatever the thing you think is working, it just can't work how you think it's working. It's doing something, but it's never what you think. Once a dollar is transferred in a certain atmosphere, it's like you could just feel like this darkness subtly come in. And I've seen that my whole life.
Because I never kind of put two and two together within the idea that, as a songwriter, as an artist that writes and uses music and lyric to create emotion, that you would correlate that with the idea of church. But it's so true. One of the things I say here a lot is that, when I think about the idea of salvation or the idea of Jesus beyond whatever concept and anybody has been taught, I always just ask myself, like, what was God trying to show us?
There we
right?
go.
Because for me, the accurate point of change in my life has always happened with a why. And I truly believe that God was trying to show us who we truly are and that we are superheroes. And like you said, I think the issue with most organized religion is with commercialism, with anything else, is that if I tell you you're missing something and I'm the person that can sell you what you're missing, I'm going to control you. I'm going to control how you feel, how you borrow. But the reality is that we're not missing anything. I believe we're whole. We are superheroes. We are, like I talked about this in a conference I just did. I said, like, if you look at Jesus, he's like, if you look at this idea of completion, it's like the original superheroes. There's a reason why we love superheroes, because I think we're seeing ourselves in those, in Spider-Man, Superman, whoever. We are seeing who we truly are. And if you've seen the last Superman movie, the way that they start to feed him is that they show him the original message of his parents. The whole time he believed he was on earth to save the world. And then it's like the whole message was like, no, go and conquer because you're a conqueror. And all of a sudden he didn't know who he was. So in order to kill a superhero, you got to challenge his identity. And if you challenge his identity and you challenge his ability to think that he is who he is, then all the superpowers in the world become useless because the power is here. And we talk a lot about that. Wow. And I want to correlate that with music, right? Because in my 23 years working with music, I think one of the most interesting things, and it's what I try to tell people, is like the courage it takes you as an artist to write a lyric about an emotion that you are feeling while trying to be very structured and creative, but most of all, just have the freedom to express it, right? Knowing that there is a dollar, like you said, behind that people are trying to come in and say, well, pink sweats, you shouldn't say that because that's not very pink sweaty like, And then there's like
very pink sweaty,
and there's an audience, right, that then starts building expectation because the truth is they're seeing in you what they want to see in themselves, but they can't. And I always say, like, great artists write songs about the feelings we all feel. We just don't know how to put into words. Do you not transitioning from a kid in the drum set to writing lyrics? What was it about the pen and the words that caught your attention beyond just being a drummer behind a band?
This is deep. My way of expression was always words, because I feel like you can read words, you can say words, and people feel them for some reason. And I was always fascinated with like movies and preachers, like how they just, emote. And like as a kid, I'm like, why did she just start jumping around when he said it? Because someone else went up there, they didn't do that. So it's the act of like emoting and connecting, because like we grew up really strict, and like we kind of were like a little isolated in a way. Like we had a big family, we lived it, but like my parents always isolated us because we were always in like unsafe, from my dad's perspective, situations, and when he didn't really have the money. So as much as he could, he would try to like just make sure we could be left alone. And I feel like in those times, I really got to be comfortable with my own voice and my inner voice. And once I got to realize that my voice works, I was like, oh, like I can emote these things and people feel them. And like that was a form of connection that I never had.
The truth is we're all living in these mental prisons that were created through our, the stories that we were told, to our life experience, our fears, our trauma. And I say my number one goal is to break as many of those as possible. And to do so, I've had to challenge everything I've been taught, including from those that I love and care and respect. I've had to go and say, oh, you remember that you taught me that you said that? Hold up, that's not right. I've been in conversations with my father in the car in the middle of Europe, and his parents taught him, you do what you do with what you can. Ooh. And I remember him saying it, and we had just had this conversation, and I was surprised because he caught himself right away. And he said, wow, it's crazy that I say that so much. And it's not. Everything is open. It's like I am in a car, in a Porsche in the middle of Germany at my 67-year-old without having to have done it, because everything is possible, because I don't have to just do what I can with what I have. I can do all with everything that is available to me, which is everything. Yeah. And that idea of like truly owning who you are is what our youth, it's what our society struggles with, but it's our youth especially now, because we've looked now for validation on social media. We look, and all of us have been there. Yeah, like the
yep.
And I think that it's an epidemic of even more of a struggle to feel loved, to feel whole, to feel complete. And I did a message like 2 months ago where I just said, like, you don't need love, you need your own love before you can appreciate someone else's, because it's always going to feel incomplete. because the other person's
They
human.
can't ever love you enough.
Yeah, for the other person's human, and that drives me to like, as you start writing your music, as you start creating, as you start finding your own voice within this, is there a lyric or a song that you say, this is the groundbreaking, this is the thing where something clicked in me, and I saw the vision of what my artistry could be?
I believe it was my first song that I released, which was Honesty. And the lyric is the conversation. It's not the one lyric because every lyric leads to the next. And I feel like when I first sang that first line, like she said, "Baby, I'm afraid to fall in love," it felt like magic in a bottle that just then unleashed. Like, oh. And like I'm one of those type of artists that I've been searching for that my whole life. That moment of magic in a bottle being unleashed because I understood what music could really do. Outside of like making some money, I'm like, music can really touch people's lives. And in their darkest, lowest moments, it could be light for them. And sometimes I feel a little shackled because I grew up in church and like I have this ideal that like I just can't do art just for money. And sometimes I wish I could. Like I wish I could just crank out a bunch of songs and be like, oh yeah, let's do that. Let's get the bag. But I just can't. Like it's so precious to me. Like I feel burdened sometimes because I can't break free from like that it has to mean something to me. I have a firm belief that like outside of like spending money and doing the whole thing with marketing, like songs really connect at the point of the artist's heart and mouth being in sync because it's a magic in the air that just connects. And like I've always believed that like words don't really mean anything until they do. Because like you could say 1,000 things, but it's some type of magic that happens when this and this connect. It's like, be careful. And sometimes people say things at the wrong time, and then it's like it's sealed now because the universe, God, whatever people want to call it, it works like that. Like they say, God spoke, and it was. We have these abilities, but what we don't realize is we don't know how to channel it 100%. That's why no artist is 100 for 100. You know what I'm saying? Like, no artist has gotten 100 hits and only made 100 songs. Like, and it'll never happen because it's so difficult to sync up this and that for profit all the time and be in sync because you got all these battles going on in here. Like, oh, what do people want to hear? And da, da, da. It's like, no, it doesn't matter what they want to hear unless if it's for profit, it matters what the people want to hear. But if you're really making art for your soul, for those lost people, unfortunately, it becomes about those people when there are fewer. Actually, they're not fewer. They're many, but a lot of people are like this in real life. They're not really listening to anything. They're hearing everything. They're not listening. That's why they don't realize the lyrics that's being said. They're like, oh, he said that. They're not listening. They're just like this through their whole life. And then they're like this. So, because they don't want to see, they don't want to hear because that reality of seeing and hearing what's really going on, it's something heavy that comes with that. And like, I'm burdened by my art because I know that it's one kid like me in some inner city who's just like, bro, like, why am I here? Like, I'm going to church. Every day just feels like I'm in war. And like my parents are telling me this, but when I step outside, I'm like, what is going on? Like I just want to I want to be a normal kid. I want to wake up and not be in fear that somebody going to shoot us in school because a bullet went through the window or these kids going to just run and decide today we're going to jump you. It's like living under constant anxiety. So the type of music and lyric that I present, my attempt 99% of the time is to soothe that. For me, that kid in me that feels like I'm still at war. Like everywhere I go, like my love, my heart is going to be used against me. That's So I'm making those songs to try to like almost like a crusade, like I'm a soft crusade. Like I'm trying to win people over through these songs so that, hey, maybe I meet a friend. You know what I'm saying? Maybe, I go somewhere and my words have, made it before I have. And it makes a soft landing for me. So I don't have to be on so much edge because I feel like I'm a giving, a loving person. And I feel like that gift is almost feels like, dang, like people always trying to screw you because they feel like they can.
You said a lot of things there that
I
just
apologize, by the way. I was
no,
just in flow state right there.
no, but I love that because I think you touched on a lot of what the human condition is, right? I think one of the most powerful things that we talk a lot about here is words, right? Like the first way to start transforming your life is to watch your mouth because your brain doesn't know the difference between truth or false. It just believes what you say.
Yep.
And so what you say and what you hear becomes what you end up seeing and becomes your reality. That's why these belief systems that we have learned from our parents, from these things, hold so much weight in our lives because it came in, we heard it, our mind programmed it as reality. And once your mind programmed it as reality, to change that thing, to get out of that prison, is like you said, you then have to be courageous enough to look at the places of your life you don't want to look. And to hear the things you're not ready to hear because it would mean that all the things you've told people that were right could be wrong.
Yeah.
And that challenge of being okay with the idea that everything you had thought was right could be wrong, for most people, that's a scary challenge.
Do you believe that a creative mind is like it's a fragile mind and like it has to be nurtured? So like if your daughter, if you see like, okay, she's creative, which I personally believe everybody's creative. I believe some people endure long enough to see their creations, But I think everybody has some knack. But do you think it's a fragile mind that like you have to like nurture it to, be its full, like a full tree, so to say?
So I always say, like, do you believe you're sitting right now in someone's mind?
Wow, that's good. I
Like,
believe that.
this is the manifestation, the physical
Someone's
manifestation of someone's creativity.
Yeah, someone's
So-
code.
So is your sweater, so is your shoes, your glasses, your hat. Like, there's this high level of creativity we all have. I think all of our minds are very fragile. And they're fragile because we've believed enough stories and have been taught enough things that have become foundation pillars in our lives that have placed us in a place where the reality that we live is one that is not truly who the core of our energy is. And so we are fighting this idea of there's a promised land. And so when we are in conflict, we think we're wrong and we beat ourselves up. Oh, but I'm not doing enough and I can't do enough. And I can't. And it's like, and so you create from a place of lack.
Yeah.
You create from this place of necessity because you think that getting to that other place, something else is there. So you're always chasing that other version of yourself. Yeah. And the truth is, you don't want the platinum awards. Most artists that I know never actually keep all their awards. They're somewhere to the managers, the mom's house or whatever, like, because what you wanted was the feeling of becoming the man that could win those awards.
Yeah.
And what I've tried to do with or have intended to do with this podcast is to not get people to believe my truth, but to get people to challenge their own. Because
I love that.
I believe that the place we're all searching is just a place where we feel whole, where there's nothing missing in your life, regardless of your circumstances, regardless of the people that are around you, regardless of how good your relationship is. Like, can you sit in the middle of the chaos that is described as your life and be okay?
Man. That's freaking amazing, dude. And when you was talking, I went to like my child self and I'm sitting there and I'm watching my dad preach and I'm seeing that Jesus, ultimate creator, God, right? He wasn't alone. He went, got homies. Everybody served their own purpose, all imperfect beings. And whatever the mission was, it was executed. So it's like I think for most creatives, identifying the right people who will protect as much as their capacity allows them to your space to allow you to just be. I feel like that is the greatest crime against humanity is that we constantly badger creatives. And when I say creatives, I don't mean people who sing. I mean everybody, like in every field, because how many things haven't happened just because people are pushing doubt and for no good reason but other than they can't do it. And you know what I
what's
mean?
crazy? I watched this new Kanye documentary that dropped, right? And as soon as it was done, I just wanted to hear what people would come out of the theater saying. So I
I wanted
stayed.
to see that. I didn't see it yet.
Oh man, you gotta see it. It's
I
genuinely.
really think Kanye is a creative unleashed.
Mhm. But here's the as I came out of the theater and people were coming out, you would hear the, oh man, he was crazy. Oh bro, he was nuts. No wonder he lost it all. Or and it's I understood why people were saying that, but I sat there and said, man, it's sad that we will miss what his full potential of creating and changing the world. Like today we wear sweatpants to the office because he saw that it was cool enough to wear every single day.
Yeah.
And I think to what you were saying about creatives or just about other humanity is we get placed in a box where when you are highly creative, a community builds around you that says you are meant to be better than us, so we're going to exalt you.
Wow.
And as we exalt you and we praise you and we give you claps, we're just waiting until you are so amazingly great that you start making us uncomfortable with who we are. So then we need to say, no, hold up. You're not enough. Because why are you making me feel uncomfortable? But the truth is, when you were talking about a team, the best team around you and the healthiest team around you is someone who is centered enough to make you uncomfortable. Because good people around you are mirrors that make you be like, but why did I react to that? Like, why did your actions react to that? And then, yeah, you can have boundaries and there's some people that you shouldn't have and they're healthy. But the uncomfortableness of a relationship is that when you go work as a basketball player or football player, your coach makes you uncomfortable because he understands one thing. The extra next level superpower human in you lies in the middle of the fire, not in the middle of the piece.
Yeah.
That's where the thing in you that just wanted to come out, but had doubt and didn't believe in itself and had all these stories of growing up that he couldn't be enough, that you're not good enough, that you're not Christian enough, you don't love enough, that all those things break in the fire.
Yeah. Wow.
And that fire is what we had just been taught to run away from our whole lives,
Yeah. I will say this. I'm the type of person, I don't believe that most artists outside of a career, which we created that, like, oh, this is career. I don't believe that most artists should maintain high visibility for long periods of time. I think you see that you can become addicted to it or it can become a means to an end. But I don't think long term that's good for a person.
It's not healthy for sure.
It's not healthy at all. And those who can truly navigate it all suffer. And you weigh out the consequence, the pros and cons, the death and the glory of it all. But realistically, something I've always been hyper aware of is that you can do almost anything that you can wrap your mind around. Like, I feel like most artists get stuck at the microphone. And even myself, I'm so uncomfortable with applause. I just don't like it. I never liked it. I don't like when people like rave about what I'm doing because I just don't enjoy the idolism. Like, don't idolize me. I'm just a guy singing some songs. If it connects to you, take that, rock with that. But me, I'm a guy. You could do the same thing. And I feel like kind of like in my mind, the type of artist I always wanted to be. And I hope that, if anybody's watching this, that this is what they get from me. It's just like, I'm the bro. I'm the cousin. You know what I'm saying? I'm the person that like you you just kick it with, have deep conversation, and you be like, yo, he cool. Like, I don't want to be nobody's god, celebrity, because I feel like sometimes you can get to so much outward praise that your chest puffs up. Like, I could do whatever. I'm him. I'm her. Whatever. And it's like, no, like, you're a man. You're a woman. You're in a fleshly body. Like, you can be harmed. People can say the wrong thing on the wrong day and have you mentally messed up. And I feel like being under the spotlight too long, it's like cooking. Like, if you leave something on the stove too long, it's gonna get burnt. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you got to take it off at a certain point and realize this has to breathe. Especially when you make a good steak, it's got to breathe for a second when you're done. Like, maybe you want to put it back on. I don't recommend that, but a lot of people don't realize that they're asking for it. They're begging people, praise me because I'm amazing. And I go to what you just said about, like, once you get to that point, people get upset because they wanted you to be their God. They wanted you to save them from their sorrows, their things that they're supposed to be doing. They wanted to be distracted. But when it didn't work, that's what it is. Because you're a parent, you got these kids. No, but I'm going to watch this person because I'm stressed. And when you realize, when you unplug, oh my God.
Yeah.
And this keeps happening. And then you see them, and you seeing them on this screen that's designed to illuminate them. You start to get envious because it feels like life is not happening to them. Like, they skin clear. You know what I'm saying? He just got a new chain. Oh, he just got a new car. Or he's with his family. Why me and my family not together? Man, F him. Da, 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 da. Like, people, that's history, though. We've manufactured gods on earth as a business. That's American business. It's like, hey, we're the God makers. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I'm being obviously, funny in that sense, but that's really what we sell. It's like, hey, we build gods. And now it's getting harder to build because people are so broken mentally. Like, it's kind of like when this area in Kensington, you've been to Philly.
Yeah.
It's like you just ram people so hard. Like, they become these fiends, that's what we call them, and they're not good for nothing. They just zombies until you can help them clean themselves up. But in that state, people are zombies. Like, we're in the modern day fiend era. Like, what's the who songs like fiend?
Yeah, Travis.
Like people are fiends. Like, they're good for this many moments of a day. Every other day, blank is gone. And I've been there. I've been in those moments where it's like you want to distract yourself because life is just feels like it's just so heavy. You just want to go fall into the freaking earth and just like.
We talk so much about the power of word. You expanded on that incredibly.
Can I ask you something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because the car thing.
Yeah.
When did you realize, like, your love for cars?
So,
like, how young were you?
As young as I can remember.
Yeah.
I remember being in the track. My dad was a race car driver, so I grew up in the track.
Oh, that's amazing. So you go fast.
Yeah, I tried to, which it's a whole other, talk about kind of facing those fears. And my dad always collected little cars. And so since I was a kid, I just loved this idea of, like, speed and like design and structure.
Yeah.
And I neglected that area of my life for the idea of music and industry and this. And so I used cars for 20-some years of my life as a utility, as something that just getting me from place A to place B. But it wasn't something that it was this passion. Like, even when I was in high school, I would take my beat up Mazda 626 and I'd put a little PlayStation and I loved getting, like, dirty and just messing with it. And even though it would frustrate me when it would not work because I was, like, so intense with it, but I loved it. And part of my personal growth journey as an adult now is that the past 9 months, I was like, I'd build everything that I thought I would build being an entertainment executive, but I forgot to live. And I made an executive decision in my own life, as the CEO of my own life, to begin to live and begin to build community around the things that were meaningful to me that have been neglected for this idea of success. And so I began to do the car thing again. I began to do the watches thing. I began to traveling. And it's really interesting because when people see the videos I film with cars and stuff, they're like, my God, you're smiling. You're such a like joyful. You're having these conversations. And it's generally because the kid in me is, you know what I mean? It's like, I literally, like, I'm sitting in the car and I just can't believe that I'm driving this car and then I'm turning the wheels and that it's messing up and like everything about it just
lights you up,
lights me up, you know? And that was also this podcast because I genuinely have felt that my life experience, my understanding of energy, and my genuine care for humanity needed a place that was rooted behind something that didn't have a dollar. So that the intention was pure as it could be, right?
Yeah. I love watching your car posts because there's these like conversations sometimes on the internet car community where people like, oh, like, yeah, like, oh, I'm only riding this car because it costs this much. It's the hypercar. Y'all don't got hypercars and this and that. And I always just smile and laugh because when I was around 10, I saw somebody in a Chrysler, just normal Chrysler, nothing special, but he had painted it red. And it just stood out to me as a kid. And I remember standing there and just staring at the car like, wow, this looks cool. I don't know the brand. I don't care the brand. I just like the car. And I remember coming into some money or whatever. Well, let's just say I hit the lottery of the music industry. And I remember like, all right, I'm gonna do this car, that car, this car, that car. And I got to a point where the thing I thought I was trying to fulfill, I missed the mark. Because I wasn't a brand person. Like, I didn't really care about the brand. It was like, what car did I like? Like, yeah, like this Ferrari was nice, but that's his favorite car. That's not my favorite car. And I was talking to my one of my homies, Channing Crowder, and we was like on a boat or whatever. And somehow we got on the topic of that I didn't have a car. I never had a car. I never like intentionally was like, I'm gonna buy this car. Like, I'll rent a car for like 8 weeks, spend like $100,000 or some stupid stuff. But I never bought one. And it was like some neurotic thing that I had in my head that like, no, like I don't need a car. Like, and it was a wound. And I didn't realize it until him and I were talking, and it was a wound from my dad. And I love my dad. My dad's amazing, but he's a human being. And I didn't realize that I had this wound where my dad promised me he would give me a car. And I picked out the car. Just back in the day, you go through the newspapers. And I want this car. It was a Corvette. It's like a 2001. And at the time, used cars was cheap. I think it was like $3,000, $3,500 maybe. And my parents had moved us out of the hood to like the suburbs. And when I graduated high school was when I was supposed to be able to get this car. Mind you, my dad told me this like 7 years before. Hey, when you graduate high school, I'll get your car, because I was starting to act out and things like that. So that was kind of like my motivating thing in my back of my head. I'm gonna get a car. So I graduate and I go to my dad like, yo, what's up with that car? And he was like, what car? What you talking about? Broke me. But I didn't realize in that moment until later, until I had the time to reflect. I'm like, why don't I have a car? Like, what is that about? And it was his humanness, like, because he was my hero. He could do anything. I see my dad work all the time. Like, my dad would throw newspapers, you know, before my dad took us to school every day. So, like, I guess when money was tight, my dad never really discussed money with us, but, like, I would notice different periods he would be doing different things. And, like, on our way to school, 6 in the morning, my dad doing his paper route. And I just thought that was the coolest shit. Like, I'm a kid, and I'm watching my dad throw these newspapers. I'm like, yo, like, he got aim, like, all these things. And it made me realize in that moment that I wanted a Corvette. That's what I wanted. I didn't think about what anybody else had, what they were doing. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go get the car. Got the car. And I was like, all right, well, I want to soup it up and do everything my unique way, because that child wound of feeling like you always had to alter your vision of life based on what your parents could do. It was like, no, I'm going to do it my way. I'm gonna pink it out. I'm gonna put a wide body kit. I'm doing all of that. And I remember getting in the car and I was going through some very, very traumatic times in my life. Um, it was times where I thought that like I wouldn't even ever sing again. I wouldn't ever be able to walk. You know, it was very dark. I was having some health issues and I just felt betrayed. Cause I'm like, dang, like I'm trying my best. Like I neglected myself for so long. Now I'm aware. Now all these things are happening. Like I was perfectly fine when I was just, not caring. Now it's like these random autoimmune things, and I started to feel a little bit broken. And I bought the car, and I remember I would just tap my wife. I'm like, hey, let's just get in the car. She's like, all right, cool. We get in the car. We just drive 2 a.m. just riding. And I just remember feeling just like so at ease. You could just hear the engine in the road. Like that feeling, it became like a time lapse from like childhood to now. I never knew what that car sounded like from the inside because I never drove it. I just kept seeing it in the newspaper. I'm like, man, I want that. My dad's gonna get that for me. And when he let me down, that was one of the first fractures as a boy. And I feel like something so small, people don't realize can travel with you for a long time because you packed a backpack. You thought you put peanut butter and jellies and cookies in there, but you got some shards of glass, some shards of things that when you reach in there, oh, you get cut. You're like, oh, why does that hurt like this? Oh, my dad, when he was a human to me, it hurt, but I didn't have the wherewithal to figure out that emotion. And I'm in my 30s. What? And where I'm from, you don't feel these things. So I'm like, nah, like I'm a man. Like, what are you tripping about that? And it's like, no, you got to fulfill those moments because that will allow me to be a better parent for my future kids. Because there's certain things that I realized in that moment was he just didn't have it.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to tell me that he didn't have it. So that shame of like, man, and I taught this boy, don't say that he can't. So how can I tell him that I can't?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to just play around with it. And I know my dad.
Yeah.
I know that there was a hurt point probably in that moment that he had to finagle for himself. And my dad came, he seen my car, and I could just see he was like, man, you a bad boy, man. And that just kind of closed that circle.
That circle, yeah.
And it's like, it's finished. That thing is finished. And I feel like in my life, I've had so many it's finished moments. And some of them are continual, but just that initial gap closing. And I'm sorry, I'm going long, but I want to go into the song thing. That's something I missed. And how powerful words are. I wrote a song called Honesty. And at that time, I was writing that song via a conversation. I didn't have that actual conversation with the person, but it was like something that sparked in me. And I created the conversation with myself. And I was healing myself when I wrote that song. And I was always a songwriter. I never wanted to be an artist. Like, I've been approached so many times throughout the years. And I was borderline homeless many times. And a few times I was actually homeless. And I just say, no, I don't want to do a deal. I don't want to be an artist. I just wanted to write songs. But for some reason, when I wrote this song, I couldn't shake it because it was me. I wasn't just writing for other people. This was me. I'm afraid to fall in love because I never seen it work out. What if it's not reciprocated? Because you telling me everybody that's around me getting divorced, they both equally don't like each other, or somebody left them. Somebody, and it led me down a path of like love don't mean anything. Like when people say they love you, what does that mean? Like, because you're gonna not love me when you get mad. That's how I always thought. Because I see my parents get divorced, and I always question. I'm like, yo, how did y'all get married? And then just y'all don't like each other. Like my brain could never comprehend that. So I always avoided relationships, connections at that capacity my whole life. I just avoided it. Like a girl would like me. She's like, well, why we can't? I'm like, I ain't doing all that. Like, I don't want to be in no relationships and this and that. But it was fear because I never seen this work. I've never seen somebody say something in this category and it actually means something. I never seen somebody say, hey, till death do us part, and then they died. And that was it was like, I don't like you no more. And I'm like, I don't want that. So I ran from that. But when I made that song, I'm telling you, like, something spiritually happened to me where I was then open. And then I started dating my wife. And it was this process that was just grueling, man. And like, it's funny. I'm telling this because people see this version of me and they think there could be no other version. Like, he's just this person. It's like, it's a full transformation happened for me where my heart was softened and opened. And when she came into my life, it was so hard, man. Like, it would be the smallest things. And like, I'm smiling because my wife would laugh at me telling this. Like, one time she asked, can she watch Netflix on my computer? And I blew up. I'm like, what you want to, like, what are you trying to do? Like, why you want to be on my computer? No, I'm not giving you my passcode. Mind you, it was a brand new computer. It was nothing on there. Like, it was brand new. But I was just so afraid to let anybody in any capacity. I'm like, no, like, because once I give you my password, you gonna want something else. And where does it stop? And I remember her being so soft. Like, all the women in my family, they rough. You know what I'm saying? My mom rough. Like, she don't play. But my wife was just so soft. And she was like, is everything okay? Like, I just wanted to watch Netflix. You can manifest just how you see, like, people turn 50 years old. They're like, yeah, I manifested all that murder and death. Yeah. So that's why I changed. It's like, I manifested this version of my life by releasing the old version. So that's why, just to, you know.
And with that, I think one of the things that we talk about here is the power of words, which is what you're saying. And so we like to end our podcast always by saying, what's the one word that you need to hear to win the battle of you versus you?
I understand you. Yeah. I deeply crave to be understood. What about you? Or you don't do it?
I do it. I'll do it with you today. Today is say yes.
Wow. That's good.
That's where I'm sitting at today. Pink, thank you for being part of You Versus You. This has been a transformational conversation. I'll be honest, I was not expecting this conversation to be so incredibly amazing. Not because you are not an amazing human, but because what we've talked about here today has been transformational to myself. There's so many things that I genuinely believe the universe sent you here to say, not only for that audience, but for me as well. And so I receive all the teachings. I receive all the amazing stories and amazing personal. I thank you for opening up in the show because it solidifies that we've created a beautiful, safe space here for people like yourself to come here and speak the things that are not spoken about in many other places. And so I thank you for being a part of You Versus You. I can't wait to many more conversations together, man. Thank you for being on the show.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you guys for tuning in to You Versus You. Please subscribe, like, and share as we build this community that we help each other to live the life of our dreams.